Hey everybody, it's Robin Vakai, broker owner, Beach Bay Real Estate here in Venice, Florida. And today I wanted to share with you a little bit of a personal story because I know a lot of people consider relocating to Florida and they have a lot of hesitation about it. And having done it myself, I thought it might help you. In 2014, at the age of 50, after being a lifelong resident of New York's mid-Hudson Valley, I made the decision to relocate to Southwest Florida. And it wasn't without a lot of research and planning and thinking, but when I made the decision, I said, I'm going to do it. And part of my mantra, as it were, was that what's the worst that's going to happen? I go to Florida for a year and I don't like it and I move back here. That was how I said, okay, that's the worst thing that's going to happen. So I did it. I'd been newly divorced. I researched the area. I packed my stuff and away I went. In fact, I have a really great photo with the back of the pods full of stuff, and I taped a sign inside it that said Florida bound. Anyway, so when I came here, I didn't know anybody. I knew a few people in the general area who had relocated here, but nobody that I would say was, my best friend, a great friend, somebody that I was very close with, and certainly no family. I just made the decision and I said, I'm going. And I have no regrets. Just so you know, I'm in my 11th year here. I've established a real estate brokerage. I started in the business only 4 months after I got here. I arrived in September of 2014. And I started in the real estate business only, a few months later by the time I got my license and everything. 2 years later, I became a broker. That was 2017. And in 2020, I started my own company, Beach Bay Real Estate. I work independently. So not only did I change my location and change my address, but I changed my business. I'd been in the financial planning industry and a certified financial planner for probably the last almost 20 years when I moved. And part of the reasons I wanted out of New York were numerous, not to mention, very high taxes and all kinds of taxes, property, sales, income, everything. But property taxes I found to be very oppressive and stifling. A very high cost of living. I found it to be very expensive utility-wise, home heating. I didn't like that. I didn't like the politics and the overall environment, the way government was run. That was always a problem for me. And I absolutely detested the harsh, cold winters. All my life, every year I said, here we go, September's rolling around. And as much as the fall was really, really nice, and you say, oh, it's cool, and the leaves look so pretty, I knew that pretty soon after that it was going to start getting cold, and everything fell off the trees, and it died, and it was gloomy and gray, and I just hated it. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, I hated it. So I opted for Florida, although I was considering some other places. I was considering both Texas and the Carolinas, and for various reasons I chose Southwest Florida. My sister and brother-in-law had lived here for a long time, on and off, but in different parts of the state. They lived in the Fort Myers area. I visited them when they were in Cape Coral. They also lived on the northeast coast of Florida in Amelia Island. That was way too cold for me. I didn't like that. So anyway, I settled on this area and Florida in particular, and part of that was because, yes, sunshine year-round, and I still say they don't call it the Sunshine State for nothing. It's sunny all the time. So if you don't like sunshine, you're not going to like it here. It's warm. And yes, in the summer it's hot, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Back to the taxes. No state income tax in Florida. And while the cost of living is still lower here in total than it is in New York, it has increased since I came here. There's no doubt about it. And part of that is because assessed values have increased, property taxes have gone up the same. And I can talk in another video about homestead exemptions and way you save money. But overall, it's a lower cost of living here. People say, oh, the food is really expensive. Some of that is transportation costs and getting everything down into the state of Florida, but I haven't found a significant difference. Business-friendly environment. Florida is very pro-business. Unlike where I'm from, everything became red tape and jumping through hoops. Between permitting, environmental impact studies, all sorts of other things that you could, never do. Florida makes it very easy if you want to start a business or go into business. And I think that's great. The other thing I liked about Southwest Florida when I came on my pre-moving tours were the really nice people. A lot of people in this part of Florida are from the Midwest. And as much as my New York friends hate it, New Yorkers sort of do really have a bad rap for having a bad attitude. And, I say that as somebody who lived in New York my whole life. Midwesterners are just really nice people. They're warm, they're inviting, they're friendly. So it had a whole different vibe when I came here, and I loved that. And we also have a lot of really welcoming communities here. And, I've talked a little bit about HOAs and those communities and what the pluses and minuses of those are. But if you're somebody that's relocating, whether you're moving with your spouse or significant other, or you're moving by yourself, that's almost an even better reason why you want to move into a community, because you've got immediate neighbors, friends. A lot of these communities have lifestyle directors, and you can take advantage of all those things with an immediate network of people that you can connect with. So that's really nice. But one of the reasons for me was that everybody is very welcoming. So I did a lot of research. I didn't just immediately decide on the Venice area, which is where I moved to, but since I moved here, I've lived in basically South Sarasota County. So Venice, Nokomis, North Venice, as they call it, and also Northport, which is a real booming part of Sarasota County. But I looked at them all. I looked at, Punta Gorda, even into Charlotte County. I looked at Cape Coral, which I did not like. They did not have any downtown in Cape Coral. I just found it kind of a lot of sprawl and flat sprawl. I went up to Venice. I loved Venice. I fell in love with the downtown, and Venice has grown tremendously since I've been here. Sarasota was a little too busy, a little too crowded for me, but that's just, my personal opinion. A lot of people love Sarasota. It's, for me, just kind of a place to go and kind of walk around and visit and go out and eat. So my biggest surprises after moving, especially coming from New York's mid-Hudson Valley, the first thing was adjusting to the Florida heat. And I did come down here on one of my preliminary tours in the summer, and I came intentionally the first week of August just to see how hot it was. And it's hot. I'm not going to fib, but it's also hot in New York's mid-Hudson Valley, where I'm from, and also humid. And for me, the bigger plus here was that the weather doesn't change, right? Every day from June 1st, basically, until the end of September, sometimes even into October, it's going to be 90 degrees or higher every single day. And it's humid. But you just get used to it. There's none of that, okay, one day it's 70 and then the next day it's 96 and your body can't adapt to it. So I'd say it took 2 full years for me to adapt to the climate where I wasn't too hot or too cool. I love it. It's just, you get used to it. So the other challenge was, of course, finding my way around, getting used to where everything was, how the roads all worked. But like everything, GPS, you figure it out. And I did. Not only did I figure it out, I figured it out while entering the real estate business. So that was, quite the challenge. I met a lot of new people. I have new friends. I just love it here. It's just a slower pace of life, but I feel like there's a better quality of life, being able to take advantage of the great outdoors. So And of course, I have my own pool, because if you're in Florida, you want a pool, and I'm a big swimmer, so I swim almost every day. This year I started from about the last few days of March, and I'm in the pool every day, multiple times. So that's really a huge plus. Okay, so if you were going to relocate from someplace else, I say make multiple visits. Don't just come during tourism season. Don't just come during the winter when you're freezing your tail off up there and say, oh my gosh, it's sunny, it's warm. You know, really get a feel for it. Spend, 2 weeks in the summer if you can. That's our off season. It's a good time to see and feel the weather and see what everybody's going through. And you also need to come during peak season, because it's busy and there's a lot of traffic. I'm not going to lie. The locals who live here, as much as we love the boon to the economy that all the tourism brings, I don't know anybody who doesn't complain about the traffic during high season, which for us is January through March. Leave your stuff behind. Please don't bring, all your old and antique furniture and all those collectibles that you've had. Number one, it doesn't go with Florida decor. You'll drag it down here, you'll pay a fortune, and then you'll end up selling it or almost giving it away because nobody down here wants it. So don't bring that heavy furniture. If you're coming down here and doing what I did, which was just try it and see if you like it before making a bold move like uprooting everything you have, then don't rent from people on Facebook. I'm really sorry, just don't do it. If you need to find a place to rent, then go to one of the apartment complexes, suck it up even if you're not used to living in an apartment, and do that, because at least there's on-site management, there's maintenance people, and you're not dealing with somebody. You don't know what that house looks like. And I say, boy, everything looks great on the internet, especially when you're sitting up there and it's blizzard conditions. So just try that if you're going to do it. If you're going to buy, the other thing I say is make sure you're finding somebody who's a single agent, a fiduciary buyer's agent, somebody who's looking out for you, not a transaction agent, which is how Florida realtors default, okay? And those transaction agents are facilitators. That's their job. They're by law not supposed to work against either party in a transaction. So find somebody that's a fiduciary, and that's how I operate, and for that reason. So my attitude was simple. Remember this, that what's the worst that will happen? I make a move, I spend a year, and if I don't like it, I can always move back or go someplace else. I know moving is expensive. And that leads me to the other point. If you're going to move here, make sure, here's my financial planning hat, make sure you have enough money to sustain you while you get settled. If you're still working, hopefully you're going to be able to find a job before you come here. And if not, and you're going to look for a job when you get here, then be prepared to have at least 6 months of living expenses put aside so you can make this move. And if you're retired and living on a fixed income, make sure you get somebody help you determine what those monthly costs are going to be, whether it's rent or paying a mortgage, so you know if your lifestyle is going to change financially. So anyway, I guess all I say about it is, if I can do it, you can do it. And I have no regrets. I'm in my 11th year. There's no way that I would ever move back to New York. Absolutely no way. And nor would I move anywhere where it's cold. So that's just me. If you need help from somebody who's done it and knows what you go through when you are relocating and changing states, and you're looking for a fiduciary agent who will look out for you, then reach out, get in touch, post a comment, call my cell, whatever. I will help you, and you will get good, honest fiduciary advice. Anyway, thanks for listening. It's Robin, Beach Bay Real Estate here in Venice, Florida, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.